All right. So today we'll be looking at what we call UX auditing. So before we start, I just want to ask what is UX auditing? What do you understand by UX auditing? Have you come across the word UX auditing? If yes, what do you understand by that word UX auditing? Anybody, you might just want to drop it on the chat. As a product designer, what is UX auditing? What do you do when you audit, or what do you understand by the word UX auditing?
UX auditing, basically, if I could use the regular auditing that we all know of, I think it's a process of trying to evaluate maybe a digital product or a design kind of, for you to see if it needs improvement or any area that needs proper recommendation. Like maybe that's what I just think.
Oh, okay. So any other person?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
So UX auditing is like an assessment to see if there is room for improvements in an already made project, if you can do better or things that can help you improve the project better. That's like a major thing for UX auditing. So audit the project and give room for improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you very much.
Hello, ma.
Yeah, Yusuf.
So UX auditing, I see it as an assessment to check out the weaknesses, the strengths, and where product competitors, probably direct and indirect products or competitors are doing better, or where needs to be improved on, so as to improve the to streamline the processes for users. That's what I see it as now.
Okay, yeah, you are all very correct about what UX auditing is. So there's no need for me to give a definition again. UX auditing is just the process you carry out to check a particular product to know if it meets the requirement. Because most times when you're in the development phase, you notice that there's some kind of rushing. Every startup founder or every company wants to just get out the MVP in the market. They want to get their MVP in the market. So they rush most of the process. You notice that sometimes if you're working for Nigerian companies or you're working for a startup, you notice that you don't get to do UX. That's just the truth. You won't get to do. You see the part where we teach you. When we're teaching, we start from research. You get to do research method. You get to check your real competitors. If we want to be realistic in the real world, how many persons are working in this class? Like you're working for a company. Like you started working for a company, be it a volunteering role or maybe a paid role.
Part-time or full-time?
Part-time, anyone?
Currently, I'm not, but I've worked with one before. Currently, I've not because I had to stop when I relocated.
Oh, okay. So while working with them, let's be realistic. Was there any time you had to conduct research? Like, you had to conduct research.
So like just do it and push it out. We barely do research. We barely do research.
If your PM is putting out tax, the person is telling you, design social screen, design this, design that, except you're working for the 1% of the 1%, those companies that, okay, yes, they follow due process. The truth is basically you don't do UX auditing or you don't do UX research. That's why it's looking like most times when you come to, for instance, most times when you attend boot camps, you get so impatient if you are focusing on UX. Because in the real world, if you work there, you know that you don't do research except you're trying to build your personal portfolio. and all of that. So that's why it's also very important that you do UX auditing. Now, the question is, why do you do the UX auditing? You do UX auditing to actually check your process, your product after you've shipped it in the market. You now have let's say customers signing up. You have paying customers. They might be paid, they might be unpaid, those people that don't pay. And now you want to check if all these things you've done is actually worth it. You want to know if the designs you did, it's actually reverting, like it's giving you the results that you want. So UX auditing is just something that will help you to create an actionable improvement roadmap to ensure that your product is better for your customers. It will help you to discover things that you could not discover when you were designing. There are some errors that you would not notice because when you're shipping the product, when you're designing for development, mostly for MVP, they just push it. As far as they test the code, it's working. They just push it at that point. And at the end of the day, you discover that your customers are actually frustrated. I've seen situations where, because you're trying to design and you have all of the concept in your head, for mostly the founders, they have the concept in their head. They tell you, okay, once you come on this platform, I want them to be able to do this. They need to sign up. Once they sign up, they should have different steps. Step 1, they sign up their personal details. Step 2, they do this. Step 3, they do this. Step 4, they do this. And you're seeing that this whole process is so big, is so complex. And the first few users that come on your platform because they need the platform, they are able to sign. You now notice that people are not signing. At that point, you need to do a UX audit to know if it's because the process is so long or the process is so big. That's why people are not trying to do it. You might just come back to streamline the thing to say, okay, boss, we have people that need our product. Why not we just do all of this like this? So you need to create a roadmap for that. So now, how do you get started to conduct a US audit? The first thing you need to know is that's basically the first thing of everything you are doing as a designer. The first thing is you need to understand the goal of the audit you're trying to do. You need to understand, okay, why am I doing this? What is the whole essence of doing this? And all of that. Now you get to check the things you get to check for this US audit that you would want to answer at the end of the day, the answers you're looking for before conducting an audit. You want to check if there's any accessibility issue. Now, accessibility issue might be, let's say you decided to first of all start the platform, and what you were able to come up with is a light mode. And you find out that people that are visually impaired, they prefer dark mode to light mode, and people are requesting for light mode, for dark mode. That's an accessibility issue. Most people don't like the platform, or most people can't conveniently use the platform because they can't, because of their site or one thing or the other, they can't actually access all of those things. You need to now check audit for design consistency. Most times your design, even I'm an instructor, I'm a tutor, but sometimes you don't get to find that an error in your design until you come back after some time to look at it. That's why you notice that if today you design screen A and you come back in 2 years, as at when you designed it, let's say you design it now, and in 2 years' time, that should be 2025. And in 2025, you go back to that design, you would be angry at yourself. You'd be like, that's why most of us can't post our first designs. Like, it's not possible that I'll go and I'll not post the first design that I did back then in 2019. If I even see that design, I might get to delete it from any of my portfolio, because the truth is, there are so many errors you see in that design, from accessibility and all of that. Then another thing you need to note, or another thing you need to observe when you're conducting an audit, is you need to check where users get stuck. Now that's when you use most of these tools. Google Analytics is actually going to help you to know where users are normally stuck. So platforms, some tools will help you know that. You also get to check your UX copy. You get to check the text or the captions you used, if they are actually good. Now, before you actually begin any audits, there are things you need to do. First, you need to know the personas that are affected and how it relates to the goals of the audit. So let's say it's just a particular set of people that are finding it very difficult to use the platform. Let's say those people, should I call them people around the older generation. Let me just say the older generation find it. You can see, that's why you see your fathers, your mothers, they go to banks, they have that patience of filling forms in bank one after the other. My father still has that patience of going to the bank to withdraw his money rather than doing transfer. So those set of people, if you give them a very complex sign up, let's say it's something that they truly need, and you give them a complex sign up, they will do it quick. Imagine telling our older generation that they should operate their bank app by just signing in using their email, or just putting their name and their password. They'll feel like it's scam and all of that. So you need to check the persona that is affected. You need to also review the business goals and also look at the KPIs. What is it that this business is wanting to get, or what do they want to achieve with this? There's some businesses that their KPIs is to get at least 10,000 people on the platform. And since they built the website, they've exceeded the timeline they give to themselves, and they've not even had 1,000 people. So you get to check if it's your design process, or it's your design that is making users not to come. Now you need to also observe, you need to do, at this point, you also need to check, you have to do interviews to observe your users, if and observe them to use this section to know exactly the part that you need to focus on when you're auditing. Now, there are some checklists. There are some things you need to check when you're trying to audit. So it's just basically you trying to break them down to categorize the things you need to check, to know the number of things you'll be checking. Now, for audit categories, we have the content category, we have the design and typography category, we have navigation and structure, we have accessibility and compliance, and the mobile responsive categories. So all of these categories are the categories that you need to check when you're trying to audit something. Take it down. Is the content category, you get to audit your content to know. You also get to do the design and typography, check your font size. You get to check navigation and structure. You get to check accessibility and compliance. Then you get to check mobile responsiveness. So you just need to compile all of these things to be able to conduct a good audit. Now, for content, what are you trying to look at when you're looking at the content? When you're trying to audit content? So these are the things you get to look at when you're auditing content. You get to check if you're using familiar words in your design instead of technical words. There's a particular design that I saw. It's okay. You have something like a deploy vehicle, and you have something like autonomous, blah, 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 blah. That's a design, and it's the same thing. Deploy vehicle and autonomous, all of those things, they are the same. But the only difference is one is using technical and system terms. The other one is using familiar words, something that people could relate or can relate to. So the first thing you need to check when you're checking your content, you need to check if your design you use familiar words. So that's one thing you need to check. You also need to check if all the questions, if they refer to the users, all the questions you're asking your users, they are direct. Something like already a user, that's a question, sign up. Is it direct? Is it something you now go and type, okay, it looks like you are not a user of this platform, or that's like you taking, there's some content, yeah, so you get to check if all the questions that you've asked in your design, all the questions, content you used, if they refer to the users, that refers to the users, if they are concise and friendly. Remember that if you're designing for an admin, the admin person in your organization, you might not get to consider all of these things. In as much as this admin can be anybody, if the admin is a technical person, then you will not get to consider all of these things, because the technical terms or the technical word would be something that they will relate with. That's why it's also very advisable that before you carry out any audit, you need to know the persona that it is affecting, and the persona you need to change what you want to change for. Now you need to now check if all abbreviations and acronyms, if you actually give them the meaning somewhere. So you check all of those things. The acronyms you are using, is it something that they understand quickly, or is it something that you, in as much, even if they don't understand, you had to put like the meaning or the meaning somewhere so that they can quickly know. Then another thing you need to check for is your call to action buttons. Your call to actions and your buttons, are they written in the way that users will understand? Just like register your account, that's the call to action button. Is it that you use the content that they'll use register your account, or you went to now turn the whole of ideation, you need to turn everywhere and give them a term that they are not familiar with? You need to check if all the messaging that you used, everything you're doing, all the error message, if it's in line with the error message, if it's in line with your brand tone and all of that. You know that there are some brands that we have different brands and their tones. We have the one for children, we have the ones for adults and all of that. The messaging that you're using for the adult part, is this something that they can actually relate with? Is it something that is in line with the brand message? I've seen situations where, because you get inspiration, you know that this getting inspiration can be very tricky sometimes. Let's say you want to design like a sign up page, or you want to design something and you get inspiration from let's say a health app. Now, this health app, that's what you use to get your inspiration. Some people make the mistake of using the same message for that health app and bring it to fun and to something like, let me say, an entertainment app. You know that the two, they don't have the same brand voice, they don't have the same tone. One is way professional because it helps. People need to take it serious. It's something that is very serious and unique. For entertainment, not everybody likes entertainment. So the voice or the messages you would use for in that kind of context is supposed to be different from what you use for health. So, but some people will just copy with the content that they have there and bring it because that design is good, it's fine, and it's not in any way relating, so they will not catch you, they will not sue you for plagiarism. But then in the real sense, the tone, it's not matching the tone of what you're supposed to do. Now you need to also do the information on the page, if they are easily scannable using the F or Z pattern. So this is where I'll get to ask question. Do you how many persons know the F or Z pattern of design?
Come again, please.
The F or the Z pattern of design. So there's something called F or Z pattern of design.
Hi. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you, Ibrahim.
No, it's Olakunle.
Okay, Olakunle, sorry.
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah,
I've
good
heard of
evening.
the F pattern. I don't know if I'm correct, please. I think it's when you read from left to right.
Yeah, you are correct. So that means,
Awesome.
yeah. So that means the Z pattern is, so it's just like this. Let me try to. So this is the F pattern, or this is the Z pattern. So what does this principle mean, or what does it mean? It means that users, they read. So if you want to get the attention of a user, your design should take this pattern. Anything you're putting should be from here, down here, and down here. You would easily get your users to look at it. Especially when you're trying to, for Z pattern, for F pattern, they'll tell you that a user would always look for F. So if Z is, they are starting from this part and they are looking down to this part, and then F pattern will be they will start from here to look from here. So this is just the pattern of any design you're trying to do if you want to get users' attention. Try to arrange your content, the most important content, the most important call to action button, all of those things that would entice these users. Try to arrange it this way so that they would get to easy, it will be easy for them to process. So that's what that's what you also need to check for when you're checking for when you're trying to audit your content on any design. You need to check if your contents are following the content that you're placing is following the F or Z pattern. Stanley, is your hand up?
Yes, so I'm confused, honestly. The F and Z pattern you just explained now.
Okay, so let's take it one step at a time. Now, in content arrangement, when arranging a content, even in normal, how will I put it? If you're trying to arrange a content, they'll tell you that as a user, users actually, you know that most times users are not focused on your platform, but there's sorry, please can you just mute? But there's a process which they read or which they look at content on your platform. So for some people, is the Z pattern. That's how their eye movement is. So just take your phone and try to look at something. You will notice that if you start from this from I'm trying to check, this is my left hand. Yes, you start from your left hand side to look. Even in normal design, I think I should open something. I should open a platform that and tell you to look at it and tell me the way your eyes, how your eyes were able to run to not Figma, something like Kuda. Okay, so this is taking time to load, but just take it that if you're trying to look at something as a user, or even you, not just as a user, even you're trying to look at something, it's easy for your eyes to span from left to right, from top to bottom, and from bottom to right, sorry, left to right, top to bottom, bottom to left. So it's like left to right, top to bottom, bottom to right. So that's how like the eyes, or that's how the eyes move, including the F pattern. The F pattern is just like some people look from right to left, then they look down, and then they come to the middle. Like that's how the eye movement moves. So if you're trying to get people's attention, even in designing landing pages that is going to convert, they'll tell you that put the most important things, arrange your most important content around there. That's why I see most times when people do the hero page, once they do the hero page, after the hero page, if there's another page, most times they just get to include companies that they've worked with. And the hero page, the way it goes is from the left hand side, there's something like your text and that, your call to action, and then your picture. So once I look at these, your, let's say your welcoming text, then your normal copy and your call to action, the next place my eye will go to is the image, to look at the image that is by the side. Then once I'm done with the image, then my eyes will now come down a bit to look at what is down. That's why I notice most people don't read footer. Like most people don't read footer. They just check. Hello, Ibrahim, your hand is up.
Yeah, please. I just wanted to add that for F patterns, this is when we usually apply them to text-heavy pages like blogs or article posts.
Yeah, exactly.
We usually use it for other kinds of websites where information is not necessarily presented in blog paragraphs.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that contribution. All right, thank you for that. So, who asked that question, Sefa? Let me check. Stanley, are you okay with the explanation? Put your most important things. Arrange your most important thing in a X way, Z pattern. For F pattern, try to arrange your content to that way. All right,
Yeah,
so
I think I'm good. I will just read
you
up
have,
more on it
yes,
to
you
get
have to
better.
read up on it. Yeah. Okay, so okay, so George, you said you're still very confused about the F pattern, the F and Z pattern. So I've explained it. So it's just a common reading pattern for everybody. It's a reading pattern where you just get to scan contents from like in a Z pattern. That means for the F pattern, what you do is you move your head from horizontal, you go to the vertical part of it, and then you just form F shape with what you're trying to read. So it's just like you're trying to read a book also. You just scan through. Most times you scan from the top to the side to like that. So you get to also read more on them. Then the Z pattern is when you get to you read content in a diagonal way. It's mostly for designing. If you have a lot of pictures, most times you use the Z pattern to design because they will get to scan pictures. And like Ibrahim also said, for the F pattern, you use it mostly for blogs. Those those kind of designs that have more text. That's when you use the Z pattern. The F pattern, sorry. For the Z pattern, if you have more pictures than text, you use it to arrange your content. So this now, how do you determine that a design has a Z or F pattern? It's just for you to look at the particular design and know how it is. But if you're trying to design for, just take this. Ibrahim already told us, or he already told us, which is actually the truth. If you're designing for something like a blog that has more of text, you make use of the F pattern because people are going to read. So that's the way. But if you're designing something that is more graphical, like you have pictures and all of that, you use the Z pattern. So for you to determine, you just need to look at the website and use your eye to scan through to know how you are able to move your eyes through the content. So for you to get better at it, you need to look at different website and try to say, okay, where did I look first? Where did I look first? Where did I look first? Where did I go next? Where did I go next? From there, you will get to know the kind of shape that you do in your head that they use in that kind of design. All right, so let's move on to then another thing. We talked about content being arranged in a pattern that content be arranged in a familiar kind of way that people would easily understand what they are doing. Now for design, remember I said if you're auditing, there are different categories that you need to audit. You need to audit your content. And now we are done with content, and I gave us all of the checklists, the things you need to look out for when you're trying to audit your content. Then the next one is design and typography. So at this point, what you're doing is you're looking at the whole design to ensure that everything is readable and it interacts the way that users are expected to interact with it. So for this, you're looking at the text and text input, you're looking at the form input. You get to check if the form is clearly communicated, if the forms are grouped by intent and content, like they are grouped in a way that you can really understand it. You get to check the padding, the margin, all of those things. You get to check if it's large for a mobile, if it's large enough for a website. Yeah, thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you. Thank you for this article. So for those of you that are still confused about this, you can just go and check this particular platform. Exactly. This is a Z pattern because I'll first of all check here. This is where I first of all check. If I come to this platform, my eyes will first of all start from the logo and it will move down to the sign up. Then it will come to the website, create website faster with this. Then it will move to this part. You can see how my eyes is moving. Then it's moving to this. Then it's moving to this. Then it's moving to this, and all of this. So That's it. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for this particular. Okay, so take our time to check it out, guys. Take our time to read it and get to understand. So after getting this example, once you want to start designing, you get to check which pattern it is following. All right, let's move on to. Okay, so for the next thing I said, you're going to check the fonts, you're going to check fonts, that's typography, you're going to check the design. So you get to check padding and margin if they are well arranged. You get to check responsive forms. You get to check if it's easily clickable. You get to check if your empty state and labels are clearly designed. So I've come to notice that most designers tend to leave out empty space when they are designing. So sometimes I wonder, who are you leaving that for? So you're trying to design and you don't design empty space. For instance, if I come into your platform and I'm trying to look for something, for instance, and you don't have it, most designers tend to forget all of those kind of screens. You need to make your empty state also friendly. So you get to check if your empty state and their label, if the labels they are clear and friendly. You get to check if your text fields are arranged in a good color. You get to check if only the required kind of text field input is needed. Sometimes you don't, there's some forms that are not needed and people get to put it. You need to check if the text field are sized to the length of the input field. You know that sometimes some person's name, just like my name, if you ask me to write my full name, my name is Boma Bitibo Aginabi, it's long. It's long. So when you get to check all of those things, yeah, when you check it, sometimes they are code. You just tell the developer to increase the line, increase in word count. But these are things you need to check. Remember that you're not checking the design. This is not what you're checking now is the live design, not your Figma link. Not your Figma link. You're auditing the live version of the designs. So you get to be doing all of these things. You can see that it's a whole lot of work. You get to also check if the placeholder you are using clearly indicates what should be on the form. Sometimes maybe by error, it might not even be a design error. It might be from the developers where you know that once we say password on a particular design, if you're doing the label, the form input label, the one inside, it will now be put your password there or type your password there, those kind of copies inside. Sometimes because we get to duplicate our font input, we forget to even edit that part. And it might be that it's username, it's the password section, and what is inside will now be check your username, or yeah, check your username and all of that, instead of check your password that should be there. Then you get to check if complex field like date and time and all of date and time, you need to put some things to reduce the number of clicks that your users will do. Then I try to avoid, you get to check if your drop down is very long. For instance, you want to do drop down of 36 state and capital. I hate that thing. You want to do sorry state, not state and capital. You want to do states and you're doing the drop down and the drop down is long, you know that you need to have 36 field. What is stopping you from putting a search button so that I can search using alphabets? I can just search. If I'm looking for Lagos, I just need to check search. For people, they will design it like that, as it's that long. They'll put it like that and they will now start scrolling. Like you'll be scrolling. Just imagine how it's going, what's going to take you to scroll down all of those things. Then you also need to check if the button size are similar. So all your buttons, if all your buttons that you're using, they are all similar. You get to check the button, if the button hierarchy is clear. Also get to check if group buttons indicate which one is selected. Imagine you have different buttons. Sometimes we make that mistake where you know that once there's for every text, sorry, or for every text or button, there's an active state. You get to do active state, but sometimes we omit it because we did not do a clear information architecture or a design system. You get to check if radio buttons are well utilized, if it's well check boxes. You get to check all of that. You get to check text link, if your text links, if they are actually different from the body copy, because sometimes some people will just keep login and make it the same way, especially when you want to put that particular field of already a user, comma sign up. You see that sign up is a text link, but then some people will just leave it like that, as it's bold, as it's regular with the normal text, which is not nice. Your text button should be clearly different from your copies, from your normal H1 to H6 and your body text. Now, the next thing you get to check is you get to check your font. You get to check if your fonts, your font size, your font widths, if they are the same across board, and how if it's making sense. You get to check if you're using at least 14 pixels across all board. You get to check if your font styles are limited on each page. You need to check 3 to 4. For instance, what I mean is, you know that we have H1, we have H2, we have H3, H6. Sometimes we use different font size across board. We might use H1 to H6 on one particular page, just like your heading. Your H1 is normally your heading. Then your H2 or your H4 or your H this and your body text is not there. There's some heading that you want to do that you will not use H1, you use H2 or H3. So you get to check if the styles you're using, if they are limited. You also get to check if you used uppercase words for the design. So sometimes you see sign up and you see that the S is in small letter, which is like a design error that you might not notice when you're designing. But all of those things you need to check. You also need to check if capital letter, you did not overuse it. Then for your line length, you need to check if it's around 45 to 75 character long for paragraphs and headings. That's when you're typing your text. You need to check if your hierarchy, they are standardized on every page. So if you have H1 on every page, sometimes it's advisable that you check across board if your H1 in this particular page is actually the same as your H1 in page 10, page 1 and page 10. You need to check if your texts, they're actually readable and which is the smallest, so that when you're giving your reports for your documentation, you know that, okay, we are now going to improve the text from this to this. So for your visual designs, you need to check the visual hierarchy. You need to check your call to action. You need to check the most important information and take out the ones that is not important. You need to check you need to group items together that are related. You need to ensure that your alert messages are consistent and it follows the rules of a snack bar, toast and banners. You know what all those things are. You need to check your primary action if it's different from your secondary action. You need to check if somebody should submit a form if the confirmation message is clear. You need to check hierarchy. You need to check functionalities. You need to check the control, your background colors, your background elements. You need to check that you don't have more than three colors or more than three primary colors on your design or on your page. You need to check if the interactive elements are familiar. Just like if I click, I want you to follow a tap, um, tap. Once I tap, you should go to the next page and not fly to the next page or not jump to the next page. You need to check all of those things. You need to check if we've talked about related information, if they are together. You need to check if there's enough space between elements, and um you need to check if users can see relevant information without scrolling. So I need to do something on your website. If I can see relevant information without scrolling the whole page, you need to check display. You need to check how data is displayed. Then for icons and illustrations, you need to check if there is no text embedded in any illustration or image. Sometimes we download images on iStock and this thing. Okay, so now this is the point where I need to ask questions, and I need us to respond. Where do you get your images from? You want to use a stock image for design. Where do you get the stock images from?
On Spark, and then this pixels.
On Flash and
Most
where?
pixels.
Pixels.
Yeah.
Free picks, inverted elements, Shutterstock, and all of that. I know that those platforms, free picks, Shutterstock. Godwin, how do you download it? Like, how do you download all of those things? Do you have a paid account?
For which one?
For free pick, you know that they have the paid version. Shutterstock also. Shutterstock is a paid.
The Shutterstock, I used to use, there's one website I used to copy the link and download from there. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So
But the
let me
account
just tell
I
you.
really have the premium.
Oh, okay. So for Shutterstock, if you want to design and download from Shutterstock, you want to download from iStock. Let me just show something. So so there's a platform where there's a website called downloader.la. Sorry. So there's a platform called downloader.la. You can download all of these images from there. You can download from Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, iStock, Getty Images, Picfair. All of these paid images you can download from here freely by just going to this website. Now, that's the thing for some of us, because we don't know where to get all of these images. You see some images on Google that these images are actually not free images, and they have their badge, or they have the badges on them. Some people will just download it like that and use it. I copy images from website. Yes, when you oh, nice. So when you copy from Google, so yes, downloader.la. When you copy from Google, most times you have text embedded in it. You have those text embedded in it that might be small text, but then it's something that people would easily notice. It's going to be easily noticed. Sorry. So you also need to check if the icons reflect the images it represents. Just imagine saying search, and we are going to bring another form of icons. Sometimes it might be a mistake, because most times when we want to design, for instance, a dashboard, and we put our mostly we use Shift A to do our designs, right? Shift A to add auto layouts to both an icon and a text, so that when you're trying to arrange it, you get to arrange it, it will all be arranged well, and it will be easy for you to make changes. So imagine duplicating that particular text that you've done, and you mistakenly forget to remove a particular element that is not there. So you need to also check that images are of high quality. Yeah, you need to check for images that are of high quality. So it's not so you don't need to just design what's it called? You don't need to just put an image there and leave it at that as such. You need to what's it called? You need images that are of high qualities that people would easily, even if so something happened today. Before I did this, I was supposed to on that on my screen, I added KodeCamp logo, but I got the logo online. And then when I played it on Figma and I included it in the design, on the main sheet it was clear. But when I played it to share it, I noticed that it was pixelated, sorry. It has this, it was not clear enough. And then I had to remove it. Now that's the cases of most designs. It will be very fine when you look at it from your Figma, but then when you now move to actually play it, you notice that the images are not clear. So when you're carrying out your UX audit, you need to check this. You need to check that your icon set is consistent and is not mixed. Sometimes due to errors, we do it. In a particular design that I'm following, you see my PM, it would easily note any design, any icon that is not part of the icon set. Like that's eyes. But imagine you don't have somebody like that. I've most times used. So I was looking for a particular icon and I did not see it. But then it was an outline icon, but it wasn't part of the icon set I'm using. I went on I think Google and I saw and I downloaded something related to it. It came and he noticed it. Why? Because when they are trying to do all of those things, it saved that particular pack of icon on his code and all of those things. And then it's actually right because you're not supposed. That's why it's advisable that before you carry out any design, you should do your style guide. So you already know the kind of icons that you would use at any point. Yes, the quality of images reduces when you use remove.bg, which is actually true. So the best thing sometimes is for those of you that can use Photoshop. So that's why I tell people that you can just decide to learn that too for just the purpose of designing good things. It's not like you need to use it for any other thing. So what I do is if you remove your image from Photoshop, you remove your background from Photoshop, it's way clearer. It won't reduce in quality. If you save it, it won't reduce in quality. But if you use remove the BG, it's going to reduce. Now the concept is remove.bg is a company that needs to make money. And if they give you high quality images for free, you pay. So the idea is they allow you to do what you want to do, but if you need more, you pay for it. And if you can't pay for it, the best thing is to learn another tool that will help you do it, because you have no excuse telling a user that it's because you use remove.bg or you remove the background, that's why the picture quality drops. So you need to also check that you need to also check illustration that they are the same, they actually mean what they are actually representing the company that you're working with. Then for system, you need to check that all the clickable elements have a hover state indicating that they are clickable. So that's for buttons, anything that's clickable. If anything takes longer than 3 seconds on the page, just know that the content is too much and you need to provide a loader to tell the people, a loader to hint people about the remaining time, or like you need to use a skeleton screen. Now the next thing you need to check is we've checked iconography, typography, we've checked images. So the next one you need to check is navigation and structure. You need to check navigation and structure. You need to say, okay, you need to check when users complete an action. You need to check if there's something like a step that will tell them to submit or all of that. You need to check the navigation that is located in different places if they are based on what the platform is all about. So you need to also check if the page you are is well, if the page you are on is clearly communicated that the page you are on, you need to check if the company's physical address is listed on it. You need to check if port number is there and it can easily be assessed. So when you're designing for a company, you know that sometimes you move some of these things to another team that would get to handle it. You need to check if the About Us page is easily accessible, if people can access the About Us page. You need to check if the menu, the page term, all of these things are friendly and if they follow the conventional naming structure. For instance, if it's a food delivery app and you need to put menu and all of that, you check all of those things. You need to check if the navigation is consistent across board. You need to check if there's a room for future navigation elements. That's, remember when we talked about information architecture and we said you should keep room for that your content will actually grow, it will expand, so you need to keep room for it. You need to ensure that users can navigate back and forth on any page. So that's why I say that on most pages, you would see like an arrow that will lead you up and that will lead you down. You need to check if the search bar is easily, if we can easily navigate it and all of that. You need to check if the footer is if the footer is well, if the social media icons they are clickable, if it include, for instance, if it's well planned out. You need to check progress bar, if there are progress bar on each part of the screen. So you see that all of these things are things that you cannot do it when you're designing. So it's best that you do it once you're done designing. You need to check if product navigation is actually similar to other products. So for instance, Konga, Gigi, and Jumia, they are all in the same WhatsApp group. So you need to check if they are all following patterns. You need to also check all the informations, if they are well written out. If you need to check if the logo that is on the header is displayed on every other page, and that if I click on the logo, it will lead me to the main page. So most people tend to forget that particular parts of a design. Now you need to check accessibility and compliance. You'll be asking, is this my work? Yes, it's your work to check accessibility and compliance. You need to check if customers can easily navigate the site and find what they need. You need to check if the product is compatible with most web browsers. Sometimes we design a website and if I'm using Safari, I might not be able to use it, which is not good. So you need to check the contracts in the text. You need to check active objects if they are if they are clickable, and when they are not active, what is the color like. You need to check if you have what we call SSL certificate on your website. So I've come to see website that if you visit, you see that it's not secured. It is written there that is not secured. You need to check if there is that kind of certificate on your website. So when you check it, it's not in your place to fix it. You just need to revert it to the development team and all of that. You need to check if empty state clearly defines what needs to be done. And empty state, there is currently no this go back home. Sorry, we don't have this particular goods at this time. Go back home. You need to check if the product does some part of the work for the user. Just for instance, you need to for payment, and we need to, let's say, pay something into somebody's account, and on the platform you accept different currency. So you need to help them do some of the work by including the currency sign. You need to include the country's code and all of that. You need to help them divide numbers. So I want to write 3,000 naira. It's not in my power. It's not, you need to help me to put the comma once I write the first three. So you need to think of all of those things. Then when the button is not active, what does it tell the user when it's not active and why it's not active? You need to think about the potential damage of deleting. So you need to give them good what's it called, confirmation for them to confirm before they delete anything. Then you need to check errors and alerts. You need to check if after an error, you would have to, let's say for instance, I'm using your website and there's a network issue. You need to check if the user would get to start from afresh or would repeat from where he stopped. Your error pages and all of that needs to tell your users what they need to do next. Your alert messages should be clearly written out and people should understand. Then give them permission to reject cookies. Not everybody wants cookies. Not everybody wants cookies and all of that. So you need to check all of those things if it's you need to check if you give them options to refuse it. You need to check users location detection. If you need to check get their permission, check if your website is allowing them to or is permitting them to check all of those things. You need to when assessing users contact on the product, you need to ask them for permission. Just the way if you so you need to know if the product then if your product is a paid product, you need to be sure that you're communicating the prices well to them. So we've talked about all of those things. You need to see if you're making it well for your users to sign up using a login, a social login. You need to check all of those things. If your product logo is on the login page, you need to check so many things, like all of these things. If the password requirement is clearly written, you need to check if users can read the terms and conditions. You need to check if a password confirmation is needed for them to do something. You need to check if the size, you need to check the size is good and all of that. So for data, you need to check if users can edit information about themselves. For help and support, you need to check if users can easily get help on a page, and if it's going to open in a new window, you need to check if users can easily delete their account or cancel a subscription. You need to check if UX if the FAQ is written in a way that users can easily understand it. The users can easily understand it. So you also need to check for mobile responsiveness. You need to check if it's something that if it's written on every page. Jesus. For mobile responsiveness, you need to check if on a website it is functioning well on a mobile app. You need to check if the buttons you are using when you put it on a mobile app, if it's still going to work. You need to check all of these things. You need to check the photos. You need to check everything that is readable. So under each section. Now, let's talk about the tools that you can use for your UX audits. So the first tool you can use is called usecontracts.com. So what do you do with that tool is you use it to check the contracts of your elements. It's also a Figma plugin, so you can also use it on Figma. So let's open the first. So you need to check this to check your contracts. To check the contracts of any page to see if they're actually aligning. We also use stack.co. It's also a plugin on Figma that it will help you cover contrast. It will help you check focus order. It will help you check vision simulation. We also use what we call Kode's. It's the tools that would help you to upload images on it, and then you get to test different color blindness type. For instance, you can upload your design. At this point, you can upload a screenshot of your design on Kode's to check if it will help you check if your design is good, if the contrast is good, if the contrast is good also. It's also going to help you check the color palettes that you use. You can also use Google Lighthouse. It's a tool that you can use on your web pages. But then I think it's a paid tool. It will help you to test accessibility. It will help you to test page load rates. It will help you to test SEO, and they will put it together as a report and give it to you. Then sorry guys, did you get that particular tool? Google Lighthouse. Then you also have what we call wave evaluation tool that will help you to check the icons. It will help you to check colors also, and tell you the kind of improvements that you need to do. Yeah, Google Lighthouse. Then wave evaluation tool is another tool that we use for audit. So now that you're done with all of these tools, you've used these tools. Some of them you get to use your initiative or your eyes to check them out and know where it needs improvement. Now that you're done with this, you now need to write down the report. You now need to write down your report. So how do you write your report? Now, once you're done, you can also have a video presentation. So it can be like a video. You can also do a video of all the pages you're able to audit. That's recording your screen, anyone you're comfortable with, or you do a presentation. Now, if you're doing a presentation, you know that you need to break it down into first executive summary. You need to tell them you need to tell them about the experience. You need to tell them okay what they currently have, and the experience you did and what you found out along the way, and the way that you'd have to address everything. Then the next thing you need to do is your key findings. You need to write out all the things that you found out during the audit. If it's about colors, if it's about text, you have to summarize, group them and summarize it. So like the way we broke it down in the first place, where we broke it down to content, we broke it down to designs and all of that. So you get to put your key findings in all of those things. Then if you actually did interview, for instance, if you did interview with certain people, you also get to include your interview quotes, the users that you use. You get to, if it's a video, you can put out a footage. If it's not a video, you can also just write like a summary of the interview, the questions you were able to ask them, and what they suggested, their suggestions. Then another thing you need to do is the major call outs. You get to say, okay, for instance, I found out that this color that we are using is not meeting our target audience and all of that. Let's change to this particular color. Now the next thing you need to do again is, after you're done telling them this, you now tell them the reason why. Maybe a screenshot. Let's say this color, for instance, this color is not working, this blue color is not working. You screenshot it and you now tell them for the major color. You now tell them, okay, this is what we are going to do to address it. Now another thing you need to note that for every audit there's what we call a roadmap. A roadmap is like the direction that you take to do anything. You need to plan. You need to put it in as you need to involve your PM. They should put it in a sprint. Sorry, is that an abbreviation? So AAA can mean different things. What do you really mean? Oh, AAA on the use of contrast. So I don't actually get your question. It's not direct. Oh, okay. The AAA on this thing. I think it's like a code for scoring. So that's what this AA. Because if you notice, once you click and it changes color, it's changing the numbers also. So it's a code for scoring, just like you have A and you have B. But I know for sure that AAA means like it's the highest level of standard that you can actually get when it comes to accessibility. It's mostly called triple A sometimes. So once you hear triple A, you know that is AAA, or you call it AAA accessibility. It's the highest number of standard. So you need to create a roadmap, like I said, plan it like you're planning your design. Because all of these things that I've called is not one you can use to do all of that. You need time. So the way they release tasks to you on design, that's the same way you need to plan it. You need to know the days you would get to do it. You need to know you need to know they need to put it in a backlog. Basically, they need to put it in a backlog, and how you need to do all of those things. Anyways, that's how to actually carry out a UX audit. So do we have to check for everything? If I need to give an advice on that, my answer will be yes, because you don't want a situation where you're done checking and you now have to come back. Although UX auditing doesn't really end just once, you do it almost every time. So today I received an email in my mailbox from one of the platforms that I follow. And what was the email about? The email was about that they've improved their system. Let me try to get that email and read it out. Oh, where is that email? Where is that email? Where is that email? It's from one of these. It's from one of these platform that does pay buy now and pay later. So it's from them. They sent me a message this morning telling me that they've improved their system. And how did they go about the improving? They had to carry out audits, they had to carry out all of those UX audits, research, to find out that people were complaining about a particular part of their website, and was also complaining about the services. So they had to work on it, and now they've improved it. Now, one thing you need to notice, after improving your audit system, or after doing all of these things, it's advisable that you relate it back to the main users of the platform. So you need to relate it back to say the users. So you need to look for a way, if it's by email marketing or like a campaign on your website or on your mobile app, any of those places, you need to relate it down to them. Okay, so is there any question? Any question so far? Is there any question so far? Okay, it's believed that there is no question because nobody is saying anything. So I want to give a simple task. Yes, I'm going to share a list. In fact, I'm going to share a book, not just a list. So the book has all of the checklists and all. Talking about that, so there's something I need. Let me stop sharing. There's something I need to also show us in this class. To always check out for when you're designing or when you're doing any of these things. So once I open it, my screen will come back. So I'm coming. It will soon open here. So so when you're designing anything or you're trying to do anything, these are not like designing anything. These are terms that you need to be familiar with. So let me just scan through it and one or two persons to just tell me the terms that you're really. No, you do UX audit for both website and mobile apps. You also do it for wristwatches, for watches and all of that. So for anything you design, as far as you are the one that designed it, or even if you come to meet it in the company, you need to conduct an audit. So also another thing, another reason why most people conduct an audit is let's say for instance, company A employed a junior designer when they were starting out because they did not have money to pay senior designer. And because you're a senior designer now and they have the opportunity to employ you in future, or let's say they've employed you as a senior designer, as you're going in as a senior designer, you need to make an audit, like you need to audit what they currently have and how you can make it better. So that's why we mostly do. That's where you can also do auditing for both websites, mobile apps, and anything. So this is like the checklist that every employer wants you to know, or as a UI UX designer, everybody feels like you should know all of these things. And I bet you, if I share this thing, if I start naming this one after the other, most persons will tell you that they don't know some of them. All right, so let me just scan through and call that one. Okay, so who knows what above the fold means? Anybody in this class? Hey James, sure you can answer.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
So what I understand above the fold is like, for example, when you're on our website, when you get into a website, what you see before you start scrolling. Like the first part, you see the top of the page as it has been written before you start scrolling. That's above the fold.
Okay, yeah, that's actually true. The page you see before you start scrolling, that's above the fold. Okay, so how about moderated and non-moderated research? So anybody? Okay, talk or mute.
Yeah, I understand like potential research interview that somebody is like expecting is looking overviewing the research. They don't unfortunately like interview that there's nobody expecting overviewing the research.
Okay, yeah, sure. You're correct. You're actually correct. So there's a lot of expectations as there is actually a lot of expectations as UI UX designer. So every employee wants you to be able to know all of these things. So when you talk about this is for usability testing, if you're trying to do a usability test for data analysis, you need to know bounce rate, conversion rate, all of those things. So it's actually very important that you have a checklist that you can look at it from time to time to know if you're conversant with almost everything that is here. Almost everything. There are more. Like this is not just the checklist, but this will help you know how to structure your learnings and all of that. And also create a checklist. You can also create a checklist for yourself. If you go on Google, there are some familiar terms that you don't know. There are some terms that you've never come across, and you get to check it. Just like when we talked about the Z and the F model, there were people in this class that have not really come across it. It's not because they don't want to learn it or that, but because they've not really come across it. And sometimes they even know it, but they don't even know that it is this. So try to look at these checklists or check words, these words that are related to the UI UX parts. So curate a list of it. So even after the class, you know, even if you're trying to teach somebody else tomorrow and you need to make reference to it, you would get to make reference. So now to our simple task of the day, or our simple task is I want us to we already know usability testing. So Agu, your hand is up. Okay, so we already know heuristic principles and all of those things. Now we are not doing heuristic principle. I want us to audit a website. Audit any website of your choice and document it. So remember the things you need to include in your documentation. You need to include a summary. So it's just like you writing a paper, a term paper. You need to include your key findings. If you will not be able to do interviews, so let's just leave that interview part, and then you get to do things like the major things that you saw and how you plan to address it. Deadline is on Wednesday. So do we get that? Audit any website of your choice. Audit any website. I'm going to send in the checklist, or I'll send in what you use. The checklist, yes, of what we talked. Or I don't even need to. No, it won't be posted there. It won't. So audit any website of your choice, like audit. So what we are going to be doing on Wednesday is that you'll be telling us the website you audited and your key findings and how you intend to make that website better. If the fonts, so you're not going to leave any stone unturned. If the fonts, let's say they use 13 or they use 12 and you can't see it, include it there. So anything you can see, this is not using heuristic principle. You're auditing the website and then you're writing about it and your recommendation. So it will just be like a presentation. You come to class and you say, okay, this is the website. Now the goal of it is there are some websites Olakunle knows that I don't know. At the end of the day, I might end up knowing different websites and it will help me. Then it's something you can also add in your portfolio and say you conducted the UX audit on this particular website. Sometimes if you do something, let's say, for instance, you do a website that their brand is big, you can as well send it to them via email, or you can relate it to them and tell them this is what you found out when you conducted audit on their platform and all of that. So that's what we'll be doing basically on Wednesday. So how many are we in class? We are 18 here. So I don't want to hear any excuse. I can see Agu is in class, Anita, Karam. So even if you have never spoken in this class, you must speak that day. So is there any question? Any question on this? How do you check font sizes? Go to material design website. There are standard fonts for Google. If you're designing for Google, Apple, and all of that, there are standard fonts to use, font size to use. Let's say then another way you can check font size on the website is so I think this is another way you can check is to right click on it and go to inspect. So if you go to inspect, you would see the different font size. They'll show you the number of the pixel that they used for it, and then you just get to write it. If the pixel is not standard, then you can put it there. Their text is too big or is too large. So that's another way you can check for an already existing website that you do not design. You can also check their color using all of these color pickers to check the colors so that you can get the real color code and go to all of these color platforms, color.com, contracts.co, all of those places to check. Yeah, exactly. Or luckily, you can use that HTML to Figma plugin to copy the link, then get to HTML and paste it. Copy the link from the website, go to Figma, use the plugin, and it will give you the full design. And then you can now start auditing it on Figma. So are we good? Are we good to go? Okay, so if there's no other question, please just wrap it up for us.